Thank you. You make me sound very glamorous. I do have a British accent, but I'm actually based in Christchurch, New Zealand. But thank you all for being here today. How are we feeling? Day 1, 3 p.m. Are you having a good sit down right now, or are we still engaged and we're ready to learn about some AI? I'll take that as a yeah. We need this guy's energy, right? As introed, I'm Stacey Lismore. I'm a senior business applications specialist at Microsoft. What does that mean? It means when our customers have a business solution that they need help with or a business problem, we at Microsoft get together and collab on what that solution could look like with you amongst our huge stack of tech. So, what does Gen AI look like at Microsoft across manufacturing? So when Microsoft think of Gen AI, we typically think across our whole value chain. Now, I'll talk to a couple of the R&D and the factory points today. One I haven't delved into. We've got 30 minutes, and we could go really into this and take up so much time, but we're just going to do some high level. But supply chain management, I think we've known since COVID that supply chain management is a place that we need to get to, where we're using AI-adapted supply chain insights, and we can't remain this static supply chain because you won't be able to service your customers. That's not new, and I'm not going to cover that today, but we do have heaps of content on that, and we also have a lot happening in our Azure products and our Dynamics products. We actually have local customers in Melbourne using our new supply chain premium features for that predictive forecasting and functionality. So exciting times locally for supply chain. The thing that I also don't go too level into, but I'll talk to now, is our customer experience journey. About 5 years ago, if you talk to a manufacturing customer, they told you they've got no use for a CRM, and it's a module within their ERP, and they don't really care about it. And to be honest, I still have customers that try and tell me that today. But customer experience, as we know, has rocketed post-COVID, because gone were the days that we could have an in-person sales rep in front of our customers, and we very much had to create these personalized experiences digitally for all of our channels for our customers. So where we're seeing a lot of traction now in our manufacturing, our consumer goods, is the sales and marketing channels, and actually using AI solutions to create these personalized experiences. I think a lot of our manufacturers think, well, that's B2C, that's dealing with the end customer. It's actually not. A lot of you B2B manufacturers have these endlessly long sales cycles, and you might not need to sell to your customers for several years. But the key factor is making sure that relationship seems as relevant from the day the customer first picked up the phone to whoever the next account manager might be managing this customer. And there's some great tools in the Microsoft suite to assist you with this. We've got customer insights products. We've got AI chatbots where you can actually ask, what is the health of my current pipeline? And actually using guides and insights from the internet to help your sellers know if their pipeline is likely to land. For example, you might have a couple of opportunities in your CRM, and then on the news, that company's liquidated. So those insights can actually feed into the screen of your CRM and help your sellers daily realize what's going on outside of your corporate world. When we talk about after sales and service support, as we know, a lot of us pay for contact centers and after-hour help desks. We're seeing a big shift away, and there's been a massive investment from Microsoft on their contact center offering. And what's come with that is AI IVRs. Now, please don't, I know some people have heard some early adopters of the AI IVRs, and some of them are not as good as the others, but I've actually heard a lot of video recordings of some really great ones out there, and actually helping our customers get rid of after-hours staff. No one wants to be on call in this day and age, and you certainly don't want to be paying the premiums to have people on call either. So using things like AI IVR can actually help you service your customers 24 hours a day, and not only have that information go to a telephone, it could be through a WhatsApp, it could be through LinkedIn. You're actually going to meet your customers at where they want to talk to you, and that go through to one screen, one personalized experience to your end support teams. So not to be overlooked. And I did notice some Sandvik guys, give me a wave in the audience. I can see you sat down there, yeah. Putting them on the spot. Sandvik actually were a great customer use case on our website that's actually used some of our Copilot for Sales tools, helping their sellers service and land more opportunities than they were before. So if you've got 5 minutes, go and have a look at that case study on our website. Okay, so some of the things I want to go into today is some of the shifts that we're seeing at Microsoft in the industry. And I think one of the biggest ones is actually in our product and innovation. So R&D, typical early adopters of AI, were really focused around how do we optimize our cost on our products, because we want to build the same product but much cheaper but the same quality, which was great. And we saw use cases, I think, at Hannover Messe last year. We had a car dealership or a car manufacturer on the front of your, and I should know because I've crashed many cars in my lifetime, there's a safety box. And when you crash into something or someone, the safety box will take the energy and essentially either stop the car from crashing badly, or that's how we get car safety ratings. I learned a lot about that. But this company was like, we want to create a box that can take as much energy as possible on impact, but for this cost. And they were able to optimize that design to not only make it a cost optimizing exercise, but also safer for their customers to drive this car. Now, where our customers are using this as a competitive advantage, some of you might have heard of the movie Wicked. There's a good witch and there's a bad witch. Last year, Wicked alone racked up over 100 collaborators to go into their marketing efforts to produce retail and consumer good items that were based on this movie that it went wild. For instance, stay with me, I'm like, why is she talking about a musical? Most blockbuster films get about 10 collaborations, and this could be Starbucks cups or bake kits from the supermarket, and big franchises like Star Wars actually get about 50. So Wicked having 100. So if you think about the R&D hours involved for those collaborators to come in and say, we want to jump on this customer demand. And the main theme around this was there was the green and the pink. So everyone was coming up with, there was Stanley cups, there was tool driver sets for girls, there was bake kits where you could put it in the oven and your cake turned the color of the witch. There was this massive craze over it. But you think that how many vendors did not get to collaborate because they just couldn't get their R&D out on time? And how many collaborators couldn't come up with an optimal product in time to, or came too late to the party that the trend had blown off? So although many of you won't have a big blockbuster movie driving your customer demand, there will be customer demand that comes from trends or bad feedback or just a trend in the market that's changed. And the way that the competitiveness will come is using things like Copilot and Open Azure AI to actually help your R&D processes. And it's about embedding that AI into your R&D with your designers, with your design teams, how you can get that product to market faster. So not only can you optimize the cost in most of this, but it's the speed and the innovation that will come from the R&D shift. AI-driven operational efficiency. Again, this is not new. We've been talking about this all the way through Industry 4.0. I know many of you have played around. We've been talking about IoT for, the last 10 years, and I know most of you have played around with that now. A lot of you have played around with predictive maintenance schedules, which is great. But where do we take that as a next step? So you're getting the data, you're getting the predictive maintenance, but how do we leverage this more? And that's actually going to come from more co-pilots, more vision AI on the factories, and I've got some examples of this later. But actually making sure that our quality assurance control processes are completely seamless. We know there's very little, especially in food manufacturing, there's very little ways that we can mess up our quality control processes these days, and also predictive and optimum maintenance schedules that will need to be optimized. So that was one we'll go into. The workforce and empowerment upskilling one, this is the interesting one, right? This is the one where the stigma is robots and AI are going to take our jobs and there's going to be no one left. We had a really good chat about this last week on the Australian Manufacturing Podcast. Shout out to the team for having us on. And there was a big conversation around business leaders actually starting to get together to actually start to forecast what this looks like. What does AI and human partnership look like within your businesses? What does one robot on a production machine look like? What does a camera on a quality assurance control check look like for the quality assurance officer? So it's going to be a massive change management project, and one that will definitely see a lot of, where you're dealing with the hearts and minds with people when you're on about your workforce management. And it's going to take a lot of, when they talk about ethical AI, I see it in two parts. You've got ethical deployment of AI, making sure we're not deploying what we're not capable of controlling. But there's also going to be the ethicalness of our business leaders deciding what they do with these staff, and actually how much can we reskill and repurpose people over getting rid of people. The last one we don't go into too much today, but we do have our partners, and I'll talk about this at the end, running some great sessions on this, is sustainability. As we all know, the Australian reporting requirements have come out this year. If you're in cohort 1, you're on a track to be able to have to report your sustainability within next fiscal year. Microsoft have some great options for you to be able to report on your requirements. We have a manager. We have, if you're using Fabric, there's always stuff in there for free that you can leverage. But where this will become key is, at the moment, talking to customers, sustainability is a complete compliance burden. I've spoke to so many customers that have these big Excel spreadsheets that would give a maths professor a run for their money with these calculations, and everyone's just petrified to touch them and do anything with them because that's how they're working out their consumptions. The Microsoft Sustainability Manager, for instance, got thousands of records in its libraries with all these different calculations on waste, water, fuel, to your heart content, and you can actually upload your own libraries into it to help you with reporting. But where we should be trying to shift in this industry so that when you're responding to tenders, you can start to show off and you can say, oh, we're actually able to not only show you all of these calculations and report on this, but look at what else we can do because of the AI embedded insights, actually giving you insights that you didn't realize were there. So that will be a really key one. And as I said, there is some workshops on there the next few days. So let's talk about some use cases that were actually live. So I'm sure many of you have heard of Pandora if you've ever bought jewelry. So we ran a concept with Pandora where they actually, to show them what generative AI could do in terms of product development. Now, we took 4 of their charms that already existed and said that we wanted to design a new charm. Sorry, it's actually really small font, but we can share these slides. The middle panel there showed you, we gave the charm a concept, we gave it a name, we said what dimensions, what metal, what stones we wanted it to use. And from there, it popped out what's on the top right-hand side. Now, this comes obviously back to the workforce upskilling and management, where a designer's like, is this going to take my job? No, it's not, because the designer still has a very big job to actually qualify if this will be popular with its market of people, if they actually like the design, if they think it fits with their brand enough, and actually go and then maybe take something that would have taken several hours to even get to a first concept and redesign it from there. Now, what you can further do through the co-pilots is then say, right, I'd like this in a CAD file now. And as some of you might be able to not see, it actually says, well, we don't have that, but I can guide you through into installing that on your local machine. So no roadblockers for your team because it's constantly helping you to the next stage gate. So if your design team are getting blocked and then need to call IT, well, actually, co-pilots will help them through that. Within reason, if any IT managers are like, no, don't let them deploy their own stuff. Okay, Harting. This is actually a bit of it. Well, it's a last year's use case from Hannover Messe, but Harting partnered with Siemens and Microsoft, and they actually reduced their design time of their product from weeks to minutes. They needed a simpler way for their customers to find the right product. They had around 27,000 connectors. So what they created is this front engine where in natural language, the customer could say, and this example is someone setting up a new music studio, and they needed a connector and they put in the exact requirements of the ampere and the contact points that it needed. So what the solution then went and did is actually reviewed Harting's own 20,007 pieces library and then actually used Gen AI to come up with its own concept of what it thinks the connector could look like. So as you can see, it's then come up into the design studio, and the first box it's saying is like, look, actually out of everything that's been requested, these connectors would already be work and they'd already be good for purpose, but they may not meet the exact customer requirements. And then it goes through what they did. The integration with Siemens there was to get all the actual connector information. They could do thermal modeling. So it's not just a visual concept that this comes up with, but it actually comes up with a 2D image, the 3D model, the thermal imaging to make sure that the product's not going to overheat. As you can see there, you get a free 3D design. And then what the engineer can do is review the actual audio equipment details and then say if it's like or dislike, and it will add it to a catalog. Click through that. So here was what the end output we had. So on the left, you can see what AI fed out that this would already be fit for purpose within our current catalog. And on the right-hand side, perfectly designed to the exact requirements that the customer wanted on the right-hand side. So they were able to then obviously provide their customers with essentially whatever they needed. And what would have typically taken hours, weeks' time, this was done within minutes, no more than I showed you on the screen. So when we talk about Vision AI, I think early adopters of Vision AI probably remember a lot of the use cases used to actually be around invoicing, more in our corporate sort of office jobs. We used Vision AI to do a lot of reconciling invoicing. On factory floors, you would have seen that we use a lot of cameras to do quality control. And what we were finding is obviously you were having to train train these models, and you would have to feed and feed and feed. But the great thing about what we can do with Copilot now is you can actually just feed it one example and do a majority check. So in this example, my words, we had a perfect picture of what a perfect screw head looked like before it'd been tampered with. A lot of the ones in my house look like number one because obviously using the wrong screwdrivers. But you could ask the Copilot, this is what I need it to look like. Can you tell me if the rest are defective or not? And what it come back with is essentially a perfect answer to what and what wasn't. So that's how we're using Copilots in our new Vision AI. The other thing that we're doing is using chatbots. I've got a short demo for you here on how easy it is to actually make your own chatbot. So we've got a tool called Copilot Studio where you can go in and essentially take a PDF or any information from your company and build a mini Copilot ChatGPT on top of it. Quick show of hands, who's used a Copilot or a ChatGPT in here so far? Oh, great, perfect. So the concept's not new, right? So this is a robot's it's an operating manual. Is that playing? Okay, so as we know, we've all got pages, and especially in manufacturers, pages and pages of guides. And it takes sometimes, if we've got new technicians and we're trying to onboard people or so on, it takes a long time. So what the example here is, we're going into Copilot Studio and we're going to start a new Copilot. Obviously, you need to give it a name. This one, for example, ABB, our partners over there, robot chatbot. And this is about how to service and start a chatbot. And you can have it in whatever language you like if you've got international manufacturing plants. So it will then take you into the settings. There's lots of settings that you can adjust based on how detailed you want the answers, how much, there's like a quality thing if you have a high, medium, or a low answer. Whilst you're still working with your Copilot and training it, you probably want medium. And then you can drop files into here. So it might be that actually you want 3 different PDFs to be involved in this chatbot to be able to give the engineer or the service technician an answer. So they've uploaded the file, and as simple as that, they're going to save it. Now, this information is actually uploaded to what we call the Microsoft Dataverse. So at Microsoft, we always just consume one set of data, and that's called our Dataverse. So we're not siloed data, we're not having to connect in. Everything is learning off the same information. So once that Copilot's been done, you can either have it in your Copilot Studio, you could have it as an app on your computer, but they're going to go in and now they're going to ask the robot how to switch it on. And then the Copilot will come back, and what it will do is actually reference each point as well. So if your technician's thinking, hang on, this doesn't sound right, they can actually go to the manual of where it's cited that note. And if there are things wrong, it can coach it and provide the feedback to further train it. And then just there, the second example is what is the error displayed. We have, Copilot Studio is probably a massive, well, I guess like a trend at the moment. There are customers and partners doing things with Copilot Studio everywhere. You don't need data scientists to come in and do this. Like if you've got a staff member that really knows your business process, this is more than capable for your on-the-ground factory members, on-the-ground service technicians. This is trying to empower your staff members to be able to just create their own tools. A really good example I've seen recently as well is we have a manufacturing partner in Sydney that we're trying to help a customer that work with steel. And there's lots of CAD drawings. There's where the engineers have done all their messy notes. Nightmare for the sales team to then go in and quote this. They've used Copilot Studio and uploaded all these documents and the way that engineers do their designs to actually be able to quote. So now that if they get flung an engineer's diagram with the pencil markings and then it uses the brochure to actually help their sales team quote, which used to take them sometimes weeks of going back and forth, qualifying off, trying to make details, but they've reduced that process by using a Copilot Studio function. So when we think of our factory floor, and I know we spoke earlier about IoT and predictive maintenance and all the great things, one of the best use cases for, I guess, AI Copilot is actually talking to your factory. So I think at Hannover Messe last year, we had Andritz. Andritz are a great use case of looking what they've done. They had a machine, and I think the machine is over 30 years old. It's a mechanical machine, and it's never needed to do anything different than it does. It's fit for purpose, is great. But it's a mechanical machine, and they can't talk to it. So what they did is they started by putting IoT devices on these machines to start getting the information that it needed. And what they did is they actually put a front end on the machine of a screen with a co-pilot, then being able to talk to this machine. So you've gone and turned a mechanical machine into a digital machine. And then taking that step further, so if you think you've got multiple machines in different factories that have got these co-pilots, you can then your engineers can start to go in and say, okay, why is factory A not running as effectively as factory C? Why are we getting more breakdowns? And you can start to put in these natural language questions and get back what you can see on the screen here is just multiple information of what that is pulling out from the IoT and being able to talk to the machines and get the comparisons. So again, it's still the very much need for your engineer because they're the ones that will digest and understand the information. But some really great stuff. The next thing is factory floor. We think about root cause analysis. So we've gone as far as saying, hey, why are we not running as effectively? But if there's an issue with a machine, this is where our engineers can actually save a lot of time, and they know what they need to ask. And it's almost like being able to ask an assistant and actually go and say, well, get me all the variables for this, this, and this, to actually help them work out the root cause. Copilot might not necessarily have the capability at that stage to tell you the exact wrong thing, but it'll be a lot quicker to get the information, your team know how to triage an incident. For those of you who are more visual, this is sort of, if we think about different bots, and there's a term I didn't talk about too much today, but agents, that's like the latest up and coming from Microsoft, is these agents. Agents are there to work in the background on behalf of us. So if they see something that needs to be done, we've already sort of given them the permission and rules to go and do that. For example, say a customer sent me an agreement that they'd signed, rather than me having to even click anywhere, even if it's automated, to say go and log that, the agent will know to go and store that away in a filing system for you. So here we've got the example that there's a material agent, a welding expert, and potentially maybe there's some co-pilot studios or chatbots in the data engineer and the cause and effect expert. Now, quality inspector comes along and they've got a problem. So they'll put the problem into the natural language face. What the co-pilots and the AI can then do is actually talk to multiple different data sources that you've given it and told it that this is relevant to this problem, then providing you with recommendations. So instead of having a static reading one PDF, it can actually question, as you would if you got into a team meeting and start asking each other, well, what about your department? What do you think you can do? So it will go and do that algorithm for you in the middle and provide out recommendations. Where's HSO in the room? Can you give us a wave? HSO over here are one of the best manufacturing Microsoft partners in the globe, and they do have a stall. They are on RA636, 646, whoever's at 36. They've got some amazing breakout sessions today. They are a little bit far away to find, but I do encourage you to go. If you're wanting to get more into the crux of this and actually talk to some real good manufacturing experts, go and talk to these guys and sit in these sessions. They put a lot of work into these breakouts, and I think it's a great way to start your conversation and learn more. So these are the sessions that are available to us. But thank you so much for supporting us, HSO. It's been great. That's me, guys. 6 minutes left. Were there any questions while I've got 6 minutes?
No questions at all. You've just stunned them. They're shocked and amazed.
Or tired.
One of the two. I'm going with shocked and amazed.
Yeah,
Please
okay.
put your hands together for Stacey. If you do have any questions, she's more than happy to hang around for a bit and answer those.